Champions, shout fire, shout Ororo, shout Muzozo. They all mean anointing in different languages. This is Bro.Osi King, the privileged servant of Papa Joshua Igila. And we just want to share some thoughts with us and to sincerely express our take on the 5G. And so what we want to talk about is titled My Take on 5G, because there have been a lot of postulations by many quarters and different stratas of human affairs concerning the 5G and why the 5G is the cause of coronavirus and all of that. Now, it's very interesting to see, in as much as it is also very concerning to know that up until this point, many still don't know what the issue is, particularly the source. You know, it reminds us of what the sons of the prophets said to Elisha. They said, this land is good, the land of Jericho. Everything is nice. You can see the tall palm trees and everything. He said, but there is death here. There is death in this land. It looks good, but there is death in it. And the Bible says Elisha requested for a cruse of salt that was offered him. And the Bible says he went to the source. That's the point. It's amazing that we have several men of God in the world today, anointed of the Spirit. And it's amazing that some of them who have been coming on social media, on air, to give their positions, have not been able to sincerely address the source of the pandemic that is happening around the world. And we say this respectfully because I have a spiritual father too, who did prophesy about this virus coming 6 years earlier before it happened. Talking about Papa Joshua Igila. That's my spiritual father. But of course, there are great, mighty men of God around the world today. There has always been men of God, mightily used of the Spirit. Long before technology and science came into what it is today. And we must be honest with ourselves to sincerely acknowledge that technology has been a huge blessing to the church and to the world at large. And it will be insincere to acknowledge that technology has not been a blessing. As a matter of fact, our communication with you today is through technology. And every great man of God today with large followership have been able to use the platform of technology and consolidate on it to build a followership base and to communicate their visions. Now, having said that, if men of God can come on social media, just like myself too, and begin to say, this is the cause of the virus, it is the 5G, it is the this, it is that, it is that. Wait, but the story we just told you about Elisha, when Elisha was told that there was death in the land, the Bible says he went to the source. Of course, there were sons of the prophets. They came to tell Elisha that there is death in Jericho. There is death here, even though the land looks pleasant. But the difference between them and the man of God Elisha was the fact that Elisha knew the source of the problem. If science is still postulating what could be the cause of coronavirus, And yet we know around the world that we have acclaimed men of God that we honor and give the due regards to, which they do deserve. You mean there is none amongst them that can categorically tell us what the source of the pandemic is around the world? There's none. I mean, it's no news when we understand that science is going on presumptions, presumptive positions and all that. But the church should not be part of that razzmatazz, that presumptive razzmatazz. You mean the church still don't know to this day the certainty of the problem? That shouldn't be at all. That shouldn't be. That the church does not know the cause of the problem. It shouldn't be at all, not in any sense. Except, therefore, there have been great men of God who have been sincerely telling the people what the problem really is, and we seem to ignore them and decide to go for what we think is the cause of the pandemic around the world. And now when we say great men of God, there are some great men of God really that have been genuinely telling us what the cause of the problem is. You know, earlier on when the virus came out, because the truth of the matter is that many of the ministers and some of the people today who are talking about the cause of coronavirus, actually, many of them don't live in the countries where it is most impacted. And I say this respectfully, with honor to the offices many of them sit on. But I live in a country, the United States of America, where, as it is right now in the world, the impact of the virus is the highest. And the amazing thing is that I live in a state that is just not, that is seriously impacted by the virus. I live in New Jersey. New York is just next door. Whatever affects New York affects New Jersey. It's always like that. And the impact of the virus in New York has tipped into New Jersey and is impacting New Jersey greatly. Now, I thank the Lord for the grace of our Father, Papa Joshua Aguilar, that is protecting many of us and our church members, and of course many of the churches of Christ here in North America and primarily in the tri-state region, the East Coast region here, which is most impacted with the virus, apart from Washington State. Now, many of us can tell you categorically what the impact is. Now, I'm not saying that the country where some of these men of God live have not been impacted. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But I'm trying to let you know that some of us, like for instance, myself now, I know from what grounds we're bringing our positions. Now, if you want to blame 5G as the cause of the pandemic, the question we should ask is, why now? Why now, for God's sake? Why now? I mean, technology did not just suddenly become 5G. There was a progression. There was a gradual progression. There was a gradual progression. It moved from 1G to 2G to 3G to 4G and now 5G, and everybody is screaming that this 5G is the cause of the virus. Listen, you know, there are videos around the internet today. Some people claim to be acclaimed technological experts. Some of them worked in telecommunication companies. I saw a video last evening And somebody was talking about him once working for one of the telecommunications and that he kicked against it. But the mistake he made in his video was the fact that he offered to let the people know his portfolio in that telecommunication. The guy was not a broke guy. The guy was one of the decision makers for that telecommunication company. And for the first time now, his decision was not accepted, which is why he's going on social media to do a video. Come on, man. It's very obvious that the guy was already compromised. Maybe he's just reacting because there were certain benefits that were denied him. So all of a sudden now, the telecommunications that once paid his salary, that once took care of him, is now evil. Now, the reason why we're saying this is because, you see, the people of the world know how to get to the church. That means we Christians. Because they see us as fools. Because we've always presented ourselves that way, to be fools. And sad to say, a lot of ministers made it that way too. They have made many of us as fools. So a man of God comes on social media and say 5G is the cause of the pandemic. From what grounds, sir? With all due respect, from what grounds are you coming up with this position? You say, well, can't you see the sciences, the this, the that? Now, some have even begun to politicize it. That's why we asked the question, why now, sir? Why? Dear man of God, to whom it may concern, great man of God. We are not saying God is not using you. We are not saying God is not talking to you. But the question is, why now? And I can tell you why. Which some of them may not be honest to acknowledge. And the reason being is because their churches are closed down. That's the grievances. The grievances. Now, there are some men of God who have said, and we say this respectfully because they said, some of these men of God sincerely in their videos said, let's initiate the conversation. So we're talking. Since they have obliged that there should be an open conversation for us to bring our positions. So I'm glad to be part of the conversation. And so I'm bringing these positions respectfully. When did Christianity marry science? Because these same men of God have always preached that science has been against Christianity. Even though we patronize, we use their instruments to communicate our gospel, which has been good. But the point is, I want to believe, now I'm expressing my opinion, I want to believe that some of these great men of God are reacting because it's impacting their churches. And I'm a minister too. I also have a church too. I'm under the leadership of my father, Papa Joshua Igila. But you see, some men of God who are trying to blame the impact of the virus on 5G, like I said, why now? Why now? Why now? Why didn't you cry when it was 1G, when the migration began from 1G to 2G? Why didn't you cry now? Because I still remember when we entered 4G, Nigeria, for instance, that I can still recall, I was still in Nigeria at the time. It was a welcome development. Everyone was rejoicing about 4G. And in case you don't know, because I've also done my findings too, I also was told that there is no Gs. That means 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and these 5Gs that does not emit poisonous effects. There is none. Someone say 5G is much more. Can you say the insincerity in that remark? If 5G is much more, are you saying 4G was even better? Because it still did the same thing 5G you claim is doing now. Well, somebody say, well, not in a larger scale like this. Well, listen, death is death. whether in a large scale or in a smaller scale. The impact of death, ask the families who lost their loved ones. Tell them the 5G's impact is on a larger scale. Tell them that. You think it matters to them? Or what matters to them is the fact that they lost a loved one, even if it's a child. No, you see, the thing is this. A lot of ministers today are coming up now talking about the 5G, the impact of the 5G and all that, because it is impacting their churches. The close down is impacting the churches. And many of them will not honestly acknowledge it. Listen, we say this respectfully. The Christian, if you can say that with me, the Christian is not the church of God. Now, we've listened to different men of God. See them, their videos, either on Instagram, on Facebook, on different platforms. And some of them have come to say, well, you know, the church is not a building. The church is more than a building. You and I are the church. It's not true. It's not true. Please, we say this respectfully. I will show you a scripture. The Christian is not the church of God. The Christian is not. The Christian is not the church. Otherwise, Paul is lying. Let's show you something. In 1 Timothy chapter 3, in 1 Timothy, since these men of God around the world said, let's initiate a conversation, well, the conversation has been initiated. Let's show you something. Let's go to verses 14 into verses 15. He says, these things I write unto you, hoping to come unto thee shortly. This is Paul writing to Timothy. But if I tarry long, that thou mayest know how thou ought to behave thyself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God. The house of God. And this house here is not talking about your physical body, because if you read the preceding verses, let's go to verses 12. Let's see something. Let the deacons be the husbands of one wife, ruling their children and their own houses well. It's the same Greek word. For they that have used the office of a deacon will purchase to themselves a good degree and great boldness in the faith which is in Christ Jesus. These things I write unto thee, hoping to come unto you shortly. But if I tarry long, I want you to know how you ought to behave yourself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God. Where do you behave yourself? It says in church. So the church building that has been shut down really is what is called the house of God, not your body. So when a man of God says, well, the building, the church, the building, it was only the building that was shut down. The church is not shut down. So we can do, listen, sir, with all due respect, the church was shut down. Period. Because Paul said, the house of God is the church. The house of God is the church. Except Paul was lying. So it is true that churches around the world have been shut down. No matter how we try to spiritualize it, to say, well, you know, we are the church, not the building. Really? Really? You see the insincerity in it. That's why we said, you, the man of God that is bringing up these positions, it means that something is wrong here. There's an impact. This thing is impacting you. And so now we want to blame it on 5G. Because somebody is saying 5G is bad. So what are you trying to say? You will get to see what I'm trying to say. Because these men of God around the world said, let's initiate the conversation. Let's start. Let's ask questions. So, okay, man of God, Why do you think 5G is Satan? Let's show you something. When this virus came out, like we told you earlier, I live in a state and in a country that is most impacted. And I live in a city not too far from the city that is really heavily impacted. Now, the reason why we said this is because when this virus, when this pandemic, let me just call it pandemic, when this pandemic first came out, the Spirit of the Lord revealed to me that He was behind this thing. God Himself told me that He is behind this pandemic in the world. And it gave me the reasons, which I will communicate in this broadcast, if time permits. But if you listen to our lessons on YouTube titled The Truth About Coronavirus, that is where we communicated what God told me and why the coronavirus is impacting the world. Now, a lot of ministers came and said Satan is the one behind it. And I know for a fact, because the Lord already told me. And you know, if God tells you something, He will give you scriptures to support whatever He tells you. Now, if men of God around the world are saying, listen carefully, do you know how many men of God are anointed? Powerfully used of the Spirit of God? Please pay attention to what we're telling you. That there are men of God, mightily used of the Spirit of God, powerfully anointed. Devils can't stand them. When they walk into a place, the demons begin to scream, vibrate, because of how mightily anointed they are. Now, the government in various countries around the world where some of these churches of these great men of God are established have been shut down now, because the government wants everyone to dwell safely. Now, listen carefully. Now, if such men of God, whose churches have been closed down now, are coming out to say that Satan is behind the shutting down of churches, or let's put it this way, if they are coming out to say Satan is behind the pandemic, the virus, which is why the churches have been shut down, if Satan is truly behind this virus thing, then that means that every man of God is doomed then. That's what it means. That's what it means. It means we are all doomed. You mean Satan, man of God, Satan can close down your church. Satan is that impactful to close down your church. Wow. Really? I thought these men of God have always told us. Some people say, well, are you not also a man of God? I am too. But you see, there are seniorities in it. I mean, we're talking about even what many spiritual fathers have come on media to say. Some are telling the truth, really. Some are not. And I want to talk to those who are not really telling the truth. Those who are not really telling the truth. And those who are not telling the truth are those who are blaming it on 5G. That's what I'm saying. And we say this respectfully. They are not telling the truth. Because they are going by what some folks are saying from the scientific world. Now, I'm not saying science is wrong in all postulations. But we were saying, where were you when the migration took place from 1G to 2G to 3G, 4G, and now 5G. And these men of God are screaming, why? The shutting down of the churches, it's even a proof that God himself is the one behind it. Satan does not have that power. Man of God, do you know you are anointed? Powerfully anointed. Mightily anointed. Demons can't stand you, yet your church was shut down. You mean demons can shut your church, man of God? Then certainly Satan is not the one behind this thing. This must be God. But you see, some men of God don't want to be truthful about this, to acknowledge really God is the one behind this. Now, the reason why we're saying this is because let's look at Hebrews chapter 10. Let's look at Hebrews chapter 10. Hebrews chapter 10. Let's look at verses 25, please. Let's look at verses 25. It says here, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. Not assembly, assembling. Where do we assemble? In church. He says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as we see the day approaching. So, with the shutting down the churches now, if you say Satan is the one that has shut down all the churches, as some men of God postulate, then that means Satan made every man of God and their members to compulsorily forsake the assembly. You mean Satan had that power to make all the churches around the world to be shut down? If Satan does have that ability to do so, don't you think he would have done that a long time ago? He didn't have to wait till 5G. Satan would have done that a long time ago. The only person who has that ability to impact the world simultaneously at the same time, real time, to impact the world in this magnitude can only be God, not Satan. If you study the Bible, Satan can only attack one person at a time. If you study the Bible, the Lord said to Satan, where are you coming from? He said, to and fro, up and down. And who did he complain about? One guy, Job. Through one person, he can kill a family, no doubt. But if you study the character of Satan, before Satan could even attack Job, according to the Bible, he still needed God's permission. But even though God permitted it, Job finally allowed it. Now, that something is permitted doesn't mean you can allow it. For instance, a police officer goes to collect a warrant from the judge to come and arrest someone. You know, it is the court that issues warrants to the police. People think it's the police that just issues warrants. No, it is actually the police will have to go to the city court to collect warrants, to go and arrest someone. And so the court gives the warrant to the police officer to go to house XYZ on Avenue so to arrest a person. It is true the police came to arrest the person with a warrant, but the person can fight the arrest. He can call the warrant fake. He can say no. He can resist arrest. And of course, that becomes another crime too. But here, Satan complained about Job because God was the one who initiated the conversation. Have you considered my servant Job? And Satan began to say, yeah, I've seen the guy. Blah, 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 blah. The conversation went on. And then the Lord said to Satan, fine, give it a try. Since you said, take what he has, and it will cost you. So God permitted it. But the point is that Satan allowed it. Sorry, Job allowed it. God permitted Satan to go and attack. Even though God permitted Satan to go, the hedge was still around Job. But Job broke the hedge. The Bible says, he that breaketh the hedge, the serpent shall bite. It wasn't God who broke the hedge, it was Job who did. Job did. Job broke his hedge. In chapter 3 of the book of Job, verses 25 to verses 26, he said, the things that I greatly fear have befallen me. Proverbs chapter 1, the last verse of Proverbs chapter 1 says, if you would hearken to me, the Lord says, you will dwell safely. You will be free from the fear of evil. Job said he's not free. So you see, just because God permitted it doesn't mean Job should have allowed it. Job allowed the devil to attack. He allowed Satan to attack him. Now, there's a reason why we're saying this. If Satan is the cause of all the churches shut down around the world, then certainly God must have permitted it then. If you want to blame Satan as the face behind the shutting down of all the churches. That's why we said, you mean Satan made every Christian whose church has been shut down to forsake the assembling of ourselves together? Because that a man of God is on social media today communicating through Facebook or through any network platform. That's not assembling. Even though it's a blessing in itself. For instance, our Papa today, Papa Joshua Egila, is able to minister from South Africa through the various media platforms. And many of us who are members and pastors in the ministry, wherever we are around the world, we log in to watch his broadcast. And of course, other men of God do it too. And we are all blessed, which is true. But you can't call that the assembling. You can't call that the assembling of ourselves together. Because if you read the preceding verses, you get to see that he's actually talking about a church building where the saints gather. And he said we should not forsake that. Well, what is happening around the world today, it looks like Satan has made that possible. If we're blaming it on Satan. So somebody said, but are you saying it is God? Can God break his word? That's good. It's a good thing you asked that. Was it not God who had a plan for man? Was it not God who had a plan for man? Was it not God who made man and had a plan for him, put him in the garden and all that? God had great plans for him. Did that plan still come true? No, because man didn't want it. Man, through disobedience, refused the plan God had for him. The book of Jeremiah says, God has always said, my thoughts towards you, they are of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end and a desired future. But if you study human nature, man at different times have fought God's plans for man. Was it not God who even later expressed regret for making man? How can God, who has great plans for man, once regretted making man? Because man has made God see that whatever plan God himself has for him, he does not want it. I mean, the Lord in Exodus chapter 19 verses 4 to 5 said to the children of Israel, if you hearken to me, you will be a kingdom of priests. You will be a peculiar treasure. You will be a superior race among other races in the world. That was God's plan for them. A good one. The only requirement is obey me. And they didn't. Was that plan fulfilled? Certainly not. God himself, the same people he planned for, he sent to Babylon. He sent to captivity. The same people he had this great plan for, to be a superior race, a peculiar treasure. These same people he sent to Babylon many times, over 40 times. He sent them to captivity. Why? Because of their disobedience. Things have not changed. It's still the same thing today. Now, there are men of God who are, and of course, a lot of Christians who have been complaining about this quarantine thing. Listen, quarantine is not new with God. As a matter of fact, this whole quarantine also makes you even understand that it is even God that is behind this whole thing. And so men of God don't want to be honest to acknowledge it. That's why we said, if you say Satan shut down your church, man of God, from your own mouth you acknowledge Satan shut down your church. That means your members don't have hope. That means Satan can close down their lives too. All the churches around the world, Satan shut all the churches through coronavirus. Wonderful. And because some of those men of God they discovered this thing, I know it will sound suspicious if we say Satan. Some other Christians who are very intelligent will study it very well. So they now say, well, you know what? It's the 5G. I agree with what science is saying. 5G must be responsible for this virus. Listen, you know, there are some men of God. A man of God recently, we heard him say that and of course, he's not the only one. Some other men of God have said that that really malaria and other infectious diseases have killed more people than coronavirus. They have said so. And that this increased number of deaths that are being postulated everywhere by World Health Organization, by CDC and all those folks, they are fake numbers. But that malaria has killed more people in the last 72 hours than coronavirus. But that the medical field should stop this fictitious spike in the death rate. And they give reasons. They say, well, if somebody dies of lungs, right now they say it is coronavirus and all that, when it is actually lungs condition that killed the person. Now, there's a sense in that. They are correct. But I was listening to some of these men of God when they said that many of the deaths today could be other ailments related, and that not every death right now in the hospitals is tied to coronavirus. And I was really interested when the man of God was saying this, highly respected man of God around the world. And I honor him, and I always honor him. But I was taken aback when he now finally said that these positions is a democratic position. It's the Democrats that are doing this. Oh, well, I said, wait, sir. What? How can this spike in the death rate be a democratic position? How can this be? How can this be? As a matter of fact, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control in America, the officials are Republican appointees. In case you don't know, sir, They are Republican appointees, not Democratic appointees. Let's even suppose they are Democratic appointees. They are working for a Republican president. He appointed them to make the task force. They are the ones who come in the White House to give us daily briefings about the death rates. They are the ones anticipating a spike in the death rate. These are folks working for a Republican president. When did the spike of death rate become a Democratic thing? When we have a Republican president. He appointed this task force. And they are doing a phenomenal job. As a matter of fact, we have one of our pastors here. His wife used to attend the lectures of the Dr. Fauci. They know the doctor on a face-to-face level. A member of this church, Champions Royal Assembly North America. A sister. She's also studying infectious disease too. So Dr. Fauci is one of our mentors. The guy is not a Democrat, he's not a Republican. He's telling you what the figures are showing, what the statistics are showing. He has been on this thing for a very long time. Whether Democratic president, Republican president, he was always coming to the Senate to request for funds. They didn't listen to him. Both Democratic presidents, both Republican presidents. They didn't listen to him. Now he's working for a Republican president. And they come to give us the figures and say, look, this thing is killing people really. This thing is spiking up. In order to reduce the curve, stay at home and all that quarantine. And a man of God now will not come and say, it is a democratic postulations. Come on, man. Come on, man. Man of God. Man of the Spirit. When did you start going that way? Now it's a democratic thing. You already just said something that you didn't say that you just said. Oh, so you need, man of God, you are a Republican. Then that means you don't need Democrats in your church then. And as a matter of fact, when did the death rates, the increase of death rates around the world, except we don't understand, is America the whole world? Because when the man of God, highly respected, was not saying this thing is a Democratic Party thing. Wait. Is there a Democratic Party in Spain? Or the electoral process is democratic? Just as in many countries around the world. But is there a Democratic Party and a Republican Party in Spain? Is there a Democratic Party and a Republican Party in Italy? Is there a Democratic Party or a Republican Party in France? There are different parties in different countries. But a man of God, highly respected, to come and say now that the spike in the death rate of coronavirus, this pandemic, is being sponsored by the Republican Party. For the life of me, sir, how can you say a thing like this, sir? Respectfully, sir. A prophet that you are, sir. A man of God that you are. You came and said that this death thing it's a Republican thing. Come on, sir. Come on, sir. Why? Why are you saying this thing? You don't even live in America. You don't even live in America, man of God. And man of God, you don't even live in America, and now you are saying that the increase of the death rate is a Democratic sponsored ideology. So you mean the Democratic Party sponsored it in South Africa? They sponsored it in Nigeria. They sponsored it. Come on, man of God. They sponsored it even to the UK. The British Prime Minister, who is even a conservative, what you even call a Republican, is in a critical condition today, has been put under intensive care. Was that Democratic sponsored This is even a good friend to a Republican president here in the United States. No, sir, without due respect, sir, it is wrong now to begin to politicize it. Why some men of God are going scientific? Now, man of God, you are now coming to politicize the whole thing now and say it is the Democratic Party that is behind this thing. You mean the Democratic Party is behind coronavirus? I begin to, dear God. And I'm glad that the men of God around the world have said, let's have a conversation. So we are having a respectful conversation. As you can see, I'm just trying to reason out. The Bible says, Paul, even when he taught, the Abelians, after his teachings, reasoned what he said. Is it that some of these men of God don't know that we're listening to them, that we were watching them? The question, man of God, when did you become interested in 5G? You were never interested in 4G. And the impact of 4G is not different from the impact of 5G. You may say, well, 5G has a larger scale. Debt is still debt. What do you mean by smaller scale? Is smaller scale good? That becomes the question. If you say it's killing people now, 5G is killing people at a larger scale. Okay, is even the death of anyone in a small scale good? Ask the families who love their loved ones and tell them this death should have been in a smaller scale. Come on, man. Let's reason this thing. So now this thing now is now a Republican. In fact, it's amazing that even a man of God came on social media and called President Barack Obama an Antichrist. And you know, I was taken aback when I heard this man of God call President Barack Obama an Antichrist. The reason why I was taken aback was because this man of God that was calling President Barack Obama Antichrist is a black man. President Barack Obama has been able to do what your own generation man of God has never been able to do. So, all the while, white presidents have been ruling the United States of America. None of them was Antichrist. None. Until God raised up for the first time the first black president in fulfillment of the prophecy of Martin Luther. Question, was Martin Luther an Antichrist? Now President Barack Obama now is an Antichrist, is an agent. Come on, man. Why is it that blacks like to... A lot of blacks have the crab spirit. When they see another black man rise, they try to hold the man and bring him down. It's still an amazement that you can have a black man who has an impeccable record. And even long after he left the presidency, he still has the highest, one of the highest levels of decency. Oh no. Some blacks can't accommodate it. This thing cannot be possible, so he must be an Antichrist. It's sad. It's sad that a lot of ministers are buying into those ideologies. And you know, brothers and sisters, what grieves us the most is the fact that some of these great men of God who are bringing these various positions, some of these great men of God, God has given them a global platform. A global platform. If you check some of these men of God, if you see their followership base, is in the millions. And yet can incite the minds of people. You know, one of the things I celebrate in the life of my spiritual father, Papa Joshua Egila, is the fact that when this thing came out, he had prophesied it 6 years earlier, before it came out. Now, when he prophesied it 6 years earlier, and he was specific, even in 2020, this virus will do this. He prophesied it 6 years earlier. One of the things I honor in the life of my father, Papa Joshua Egila, is the fact that when he wanted to begin to teach the lesson on eschatology, he gave the reason. He said, the reason why I want to teach on eschatology, even now, is to let you know that the end has not come yet. Because some men of God were already inciting the minds of their people, telling them the end has come. And so, our Papa graciously, Papa Joshua Egila, began to explain why the end is not now. We're in the end times, no doubt. As a matter of fact, these end times, if you study it very well, the end times started a long time ago. It's not starting now. It started a long time ago. Now, over 2,000 years ago, the end time started over 2,000 years ago. And so our Papa graciously, in his teachings on eschatology, was explaining why the end has not come yet. Even though we're living in the end times, he's saying the end has not come because of the coronavirus. He took time to explain. And I appreciate the fact that he sincerely did that. I honor the fact that he did that. But when you look at some positions that some other men of God took in teaching on eschatology, the way some of their sermons were communicated on the same subject, eschatology, it was as though the end has already come. Now, listen. If you read 1 John, John said that the spirit of the Antichrist is already in the world. He said that a long time ago. The spirit of the Antichrist did not come now through coronavirus. John the Divine told his converts in 1 John that the spirit of the Antichrist is already in the world. Already, not his coming. He is already in the world. So, it is true, therefore, that the spirit of the Antichrist has always been in the world. Now, if this is true then, if this is true, that the spirit of the Antichrist has always been in the world, did it have to take coronavirus for them to manifest, or they've already been manifesting a long time ago? The truth of the matter is that they've been manifesting a long time ago, with or without coronavirus. So to now say 5G and the insertion of the chip are all the signs that we are in the end time. Listen. Even your ATM card that you have right now in your wallet has a chip on it. Your access card to your job in your company where you work, the building where your office is, you need an access card to enter for many companies. The access card that you have, there is an inserted chip in it. You take it wherever you go to because it gives you access. Is that not Antichrist enough? If you say having a chip inside your skin is what makes the Antichrist, then having a chip on your ATM card, on your access card, automatically also makes you an Antichrist. Now, there are some videos today you have in town where somebody is saying that that he used to work for a telecommunication, but he used to work for a telecommunication company, and he knew that this 5G thing is of the devil, is this, it will destroy lives, this and that, but we are strong through Christ and all that, the body of Christ should rise up. Question, Mr. Man, you that did that video, because I even still saw it yesterday, somebody sent it to me again. Mr. Man, you that once worked in a telecommunication, if you listen to that video, long minutes of video, this so-called, and you couldn't see his face. He refused to show his face. That's another suspicion. He refused to show his face. If you know exactly what you are saying, why don't you come out boldly? Let's see your face. Like you see me now, I'm talking now. So whatever you accuse me of that I said here, I'm guilty to it because you saw my face, you saw me talking. Now somebody is doing a video, refused to show his face. He's doing a voice recording, putting pictures. That will tell you there's something suspicious about the guy, and you are buying into it. Says he used to work for a telecommunication this thing as a Christian and all that. Okay, the very fact that you are a Christian and you once worked for these telecommunication companies with the 5G that is killing people, do you think you are free? You are also guilty in the murder because you worked for them. And you were not just a low staff, you were a top, the guy who was doing the video, the audio, it was a video showing other people, but the person talking did not show himself. Now, the guy who was talking said he's a top portfolio holder in the telecommunication company. That means you were part of the decision making, which means you are also doomed too. We should arrest you for the murder of many people. Since you said 5G is responsible for the coronavirus, which is responsible for the death of the people. In fact, another guy said, well, it is not coronavirus that is killing the people. Coronavirus is nothing. It is the 5G optic radiation, and but in order to deceive the people, they call it coronavirus and all that. Whatever you say, however you communicate it, the truth of the matter is that there is insincerity in what you're saying. 4G has killed people, 3G has killed people, 2G has killed people, 1G has killed people, and 5G is not different. Are you encouraging the 5G? I'm not encouraging anything. I'm just telling you that it is not this thing that will kill us. Then that's just the truth. You die, people die because they want to. Now, let's show you something. Someone says, nobody wants to die. Well, the Bible says life and death is in your tongue. Now, I want to show you something about quarantine. Because, let's see, and then we'll stop here. In the next few days, we'll come up again. We'll come on air and bring you another our take on the 5G. This is the part 1. We'll give you the part 2. But let's look at Genesis chapter 6. Now, if you start from verses 1, the Bible did say that there was so much evil and wickedness in the world, and the Lord regretted that he had made man because angels married the daughters of men and corrupted the human race. And so the Bible says there was wickedness in the world and God wanted to destroy the earth. Now, God came to a guy by the name of Noah. In Genesis chapter 6 verse 6, the Bible says, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. Oh, this is verses 2. Okay, let's go to verses 6 of Genesis chapter 6. Of course, the Bible says, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and he grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have made from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping things, and the fowls of the air, for it repented me that I have made them. Verses 8. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. See that? Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. But who wanted to destroy the earth? The Lord. So what is coronavirus? Let's go to verses 11. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. This is not different from the world of today. Still the same thing as it was in the days of Noah. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. Okay. Now, go to verses 21 into verses 22. Verse 21. This is the Lord talking to Noah. After he told him to prepare an ark. When Noah prepared the ark, see what the Lord told him. And take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten. Is that not what we're being told today in the quarantine? Buy food. Fill your food pantry. Fill your storage. Because we don't know how long this thing will last. We don't know how long this pandemic will last. It's not new. It started with Noah. This is quarantine. Quarantine is not new to God. God himself initiated it. What science is doing, they learned it from God. But it looks like men of God today are trying to learn from science. God said, take all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee. And it shall be for food for thee and for the animals. Thus did Noah according to all that God commanded him. So did he. God told him, go and gather food. And he did. Gathered food. Okay, now let's see something. Go to chapter 7. Chapter 7. Genesis chapter 7. All right. In fact, I think there's something I did. There was something I was trying to see here. Okay, don't worry. Chapter 7. Let's read verses 1. And the Lord said unto Noah, come thou and all thy house into the ark. For thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. So God said, now come into the ark. This is a quarantine. Because the world has already been infected with corruption. The world was diseased with corruption. God says, Noah, leave your house. Come into this one that I've built. Is that not the quarantine? Okay, let's go to verses 11. Let's see something. I want to read from verses 11 to verses 16. In the 600th year of Noah's life, Noah lived for 600 years. In the second month, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. Verse 12. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Go up, please. No. Verse 13, please. In the self same day entered Noah, and Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them in the ark. Now, verse 14. They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. And they went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. Now, look at verse 16. And they that went in male and female, of all flesh. Now, follow this carefully. As God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. This is a quarantine. So quarantine is not new with God. God shut the door. So when you find Christians around the world that are reacting, hey, how long are we going to stay home? Why are they telling us to stay home? Quarantine, quarantine, quarantine. Quarantine is not of Satan, it's God. The quarantine alone is even a proof that God is behind this thing. And Christians still don't want to acknowledge it. They are blaming Satan. That's why we say, you mean Satan is that powerful to close all the churches around the world? Satan. Okay, if you don't want to believe it is God, okay, look at quarantine. Let's show you another one. Exodus chapter 12. This was when God was going to deliver the children of Israel. This was when God was going to deliver the children of Israel from Egypt. Exodus chapter 12, please. The Lord was going to deliver the children of Israel out of Egypt, and then the Lord began to talk to Moses of what he had planned to do, which he did. Told Moses to take a lamb without blemish, white, on the 10th day of the month of Abib, and then on the 14th day, 4 days after, slaughter it, roast it, and all that. Now, I want to show you something in verses 6 to 7. Please, let's go to verse. Please, give us your attention, please. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, like what we just said. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper door post of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. Now, let's go to verses 12 to verses 13. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Okay, verse 13. Please, I want you to give me your attention. Please help me out so that I can be fast, please. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses wherein you are. You see that? The house where you are. Okay. That means God was telling them, stay at home, don't go out. This is another quarantine. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. So even the Lord supports quarantine. This is another quarantine you are seeing. God says, stay at home. I just need something to see and will not allow the enemy. In fact, let's just show you something. Let's just show you something. Let's go to verses 22 to verses 23. You see clearly what he just got through saying. Verse 22, please, to verse 23. It is, and you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintels and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out. You see that? None of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. He said, none of you shall go out. Stay at home. Moses was telling them. The Lord wants you to stay at home. Is that not a quarantine? Quarantine again. Stay at home. Why? For the Lord said what? Verse 23. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the side post, the Lord will pass over the door. Please, can you? The Lord will pass over the door. Where was I? Okay. The Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. So even the very fact that you were told to stay at home is a safety. It's God. This is quarantine too. Although we know later on the Pharaoh told them to leave that night, but God wanted them to stay till the next morning. And the Pharaoh was the government. You see, the Pharaoh was the government. So the government has told you, stay at home. Let the churches close down now. So they say, oh, it's Satan. Oh, it's the Antichrist. Oh, it's the 5G. It's the 5G. Oh, it's the sign. Bill Gates. Amazon. And all these things. Listen, even some of these men of God who are coming up to say Amazon, and some of the people, some ministers have said it's Amazon, it's Bill Gates, that is the horn, that is the Antichrist, that is this. Come on, man. Bill Gates produced computers that every church today uses. Microsoft is in it. Don't you think you're also an Antichrist for using what belongs to an Antichrist? So somebody said, no, you are supposed to use it. Come on, man. Does that even make sense? Amazon. Every man of God has a book on Amazon for sale. People go on Amazon to buy books of men of God. So Amazon now, the owner of Amazon now is an Antichrist. No, what they produce is not evil. It is they themselves that are evil. Come on, man. We will come to that. In our part 2, we will explain that in details. Because they said, let's have an open conversation. So we're having the open conversation, respectful conversation. We are saying, let's reason these things out. Man of God, you said your piece. Okay, let's reason what you said. He says, stay in your house. Stay in your house because the Lord will pass through the land. What's wrong with that? So Satan quarantined everybody. Well, if Satan did, he learned it from God. If you say Satan did, then Satan learned it from God. This is the second quarantine again we're showing you that God sponsored. Let's show you another one. Go to Numbers chapter 12, the third quarantine. Let's show you another quarantine. Because a lot of people are going too extreme. Too extreme. Numbers chapter 12. This was when Miriam and Aaron confronted the Lord. Confronted Moses actually for marrying an Ethiopian woman. And the Lord was crossed with Miriam and Aaron. Let's go to verses 13. Let's see something in verses 13 to verses 15. When Moses saw that his elder sister, they are firstborn, because Miriam was older than Aaron. Aaron was just 3 years older than Moses. So when Moses saw that his elder sister was sick with leprosy, coronavirus, if they were to live in our day, and Moses cried unto the Lord. You see, now Moses is a man of God. So when you see some men of God today who are reacting bitterly towards this coronavirus, it means that somehow something has affected somebody that they know. Maybe the major financier of the church. Maybe somebody that they cared about. But when the Lord attacked Miriam here, it was because she disrespected her brother, the man of God, Moses. And Moses cried. Notice, emotions were involved. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, heal her Now, oh God, I beg you, I beseech you. You will think that the Lord said, okay. See what the Lord said. And the Lord said unto Moses, if our father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days. And after that, let her be received in again. And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days. And the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. Is that not a quarantine? God said quarantine her. If it is somebody else's child, you will not cry and beg me. Now it has affected your sister. So which means God is trying, some of these men of God who are coming on social media to react about this 5G thing, this satanic thing, that means that this thing has impacted them. It has hit them hard. And it can't be Satan. It has to be God. God here is invariably saying to Moses, I spat on your sister's face, just as a father will spit on his daughter's face. Take her out, go and quarantine her. So whatever is happening around the world, this pandemic is God spitting on the face of those who have been guilty of one thing. You say what? If God is behind coronavirus, what is his reason? Well, there are many reasons, but the primary reason we'll give you is immigration. Many of these countries today that are seriously impacted by this coronavirus, go and look at their immigration policy and see how they have treated immigrants in recent history. Is it France? Is it America? Is it Italy? Is it UK? Go and see how they have treated many. Belgium, Spain, many of these countries that are seriously impacted by this coronavirus are countries whose government have maltreated a lot of immigrants. Many. Why is America greatly impacted today? Immigration policy has been up. And as a matter of fact, when this pandemic came up, the next thing was to close the borders. And the thing spiked up, even without people coming in. So God was trying to show America, look, you think it is people that are bringing it from outside. Okay, you shut the borders. Now the thing has increased. Go and study the histories of these countries that are seriously impacted by this coronavirus. China, America, and all of that. This thing is not about the New World government. It's not listen, brothers and sisters, before God, this is not an issue of a New World government. The New World government issue has always been a long time ago. Today we have World Bank. Today we have IMF. We have United Nations. Is that not world government already? What is the United Nations for? An amalgamation of over 100 countries. How many countries do you have in the world? Is that not already a world government? Huh? We even have World Bank. It has been in existence. Nobody said anything about Antichrist at the time. World Bank has been there. Now coronavirus came out and everybody says, oh, one world government. The US dollar bill has a symbol of one world government on it. It has a narration. Every dollar bill, every US dollar bill has a one world government narration on it, written in Latin. The US dollar bill, every US dollar bill has a one world government narration. Yet we give the dollar with the one world government narration on it. We give the $10, the $20, the $100, the $50 that has the one world government narration on it. We give it as offerings in churches. Why are the pastors collecting it when it is one world government? Is that a product of the Antichrist? There's no sincerity. Some of these men of God they are just not sincere. And some of these men of God who claim they are very, very wealthy, they have Lamborghinis, they have this. With what did they buy the Lamborghini? They say they are mega billionaires, they are this. And I celebrate God for them. But if you're not trying to bring world government for the pandemic and then arrogate it to 5G for the sake of this. Come on, man. Come on, man. You've been spending the whole government material a long time ago. Well, respectfully, they said let's have a conversation. So we're having a conversation, and I hope I did not disrespect any. And of course, whatever I said, I did not say it to tamper with the grace or the anointing of the man of God. I never said anything in that regard. So somebody said, man, because you challenge men of God, God will be angry with you. No, it was God who told me to say it to you. You see, I'm like Micaiah the prophet. Many of the prophets have been talking, the big names. But the Lord said, no, go and tell them this. That's why we are doing this video. So I'm not discrediting what other men of God have said. I'm just trying to say, let's reason it. You have already told us something. Man of God, you have spoken, right? You have said what you said, yes. So we are now having reasoned what you said. I just want to talk back. Since you said, let's have a conversation. A conversation cannot be a monologue. It has to be a dialogue. So you have said something, so now I'm saying something back. And so I think you should reason with what I'm saying. Since I've reasoned what you said. So reason what I said, and then of course, make your remarks too. So that we can have a dialogue. Now, they are saying that, listen, you think about it, they are not saying all the churches should come together. Now, I saw a post on social media that a man of God is calling for all the churches to come together, all the men of God to come together. Okay. We should come together to come and do what? To come and listen to you, sir. You the man of God, yes. But we all don't want the same vision. In fact, if we all even come together, if all the men of God all around the world, or let's say Nigeria, if all the men of God in Nigeria come together, who will head that group? Please tell us, who will head it? You, man of God, that is calling for all the men of God to come together. You want to head the group. Who will head the group? I know who should head the group if all the men of God should come together. If all the men of God should come together, the person that should head the group is the one that has been talking in honesty that others have not been listening to. So I say, who is that? I won't tell you. But the truth of the matter is that somebody has been talking and the person has been quiet. The person has been quiet. If you say all the men of God should come together for somebody, that's what we're asking. If all the men of God come together, who will head that group? Because the one who should head that group, others are not listening to him. In America, all the big names, where are they today? Psst. Why? They are fighting. See, in Nigeria, it's a different business. In other countries around the world, it's a different business. In America, I can categorically tell you what is happening among the church world. And I had a conversation with another great man of God that we all know. And we had this honest conversation amongst ourselves. And the truth of the matter is that the big names in America don't want to say anything. Why? Because they don't want to lose their integrity, they say. You say, why? Why should a man of God be concerned about his integrity? Because God is not talking to them. So so now, even the men of God, when they pray that there should be a vaccine. Man of God, you prayed that the vaccines should be made available. Another man of God said the vaccine is what is making people have coronavirus. How can these two men of God come together? One man of God said nobody should take vaccine, or nobody should take the vaccination. If you do, you will have the virus. Another man of God said we pray that the vaccine should be made available for people to take and be healed. How can those two come together? That's even two. Much less 50. Much less 100. Much less 1,000,000 men of God. That's why we're asking who should head that group. Or is it that the 5G thing is affecting your business? And there's nothing wrong if a man of God owns a business. The thing is kind of impacting your own business. And it looks like you incur a lot of losses. Because if you look at the global markets, everything is on red. And many of these men of God made investments. So they are angry. And be honest to say, look, I lost money. I lost money. The Bill Gates and the others, the billionaires, they lost billions. They themselves lost billions. And it was in the news. So now they are now antichrists, yet they incurred losses. Let's be honest, man. Let's be honest. Why are we criticizing what we want to be like? Why is it that, have you not studied, brothers and sisters? Be honest. Study the Bible. Why has God not really trusted his own children with money? The first person he trusted with money was King Solomon. But the Babylonian kings, he was trusting them with wealth. King Azazel said, God has given me the kingdoms. But he said to Ezra, he said, your God, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth. But told me to just build him a house. You go and build the house. I'll give you the money. He said that to Ezra. Ezra wrote it. He said, your God prospered me. Yet the king who was talking was not a Jew. Study the Bible. The people God seemed to have trusted with wealth are not even Christians. Yeah? Why now? And now, we say the hidden have stored up treasures for the righteous. Okay, we've been saying it. When is the righteous going to take the treasure of the hidden? Because it looks like God is fighting for the hidden. Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be honest with ourselves. Now we're buying into what science is saying. What is God really saying? We are not listening to God now. Now we're listening to some guys who once worked for some communication industry. Now we're talking about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence did not start today. It has been many years ago. Yes, technology, machines will take the roles of men. Not every man. There are some of us, technology can never take the role of. Anointing does not rest on a computer. Do you understand? God still needs certain men. And you have to make yourself relevant. Now, artificial intelligence, should that be an issue to you? You, the Christian? You don't know the God you serve? What can God not do with you? No, you can't trust him enough. Because you think the computer has now become your enemy. Artificial intelligence will take your place. Artificial intelligence will not take your place. Listen, the church has not seen what is coming for her yet. That's just the truth. This one is a test run. The real thing here, the reason why God is angry, and God is angry with the leaders of the world, and also preachers too. We'll show you in the part B of this broadcast, in our next broadcast. You get to see immigration actually. That, and I will show you in the Bible an example. In fact, Exodus that we read, was it not an immigration thing? It was an immigration thing. God said, now stay in your houses. This, and as at that time, Egypt was like America. Egypt was like France. Egypt was like the UK. Egypt was like the Western world, the most civilized nation on there. We do say it today, that the first civilized country of the world is Egypt. We still say it to this day. But see how God dealt with them over the issue of the way they treated immigrants. Those who made it into the country, how they treated them, and those who were yet to come in. You see babies, mothers, crying, leaving war-torn areas to come to Turkey, and Turkey is saying, no, don't enter. We can't take you. You see babies crying. And you think God is not angry. Now God said, okay, fine. The country, the economy that you are bragging about, that you say you have, that economy now, it has crashed. Let's see what you do. The flag you are trying to defend, the republic, the country, the borders. I mean, who is looking at today? Who is looking at immigration? Who is talking about the war now? Nobody is talking about the war anymore. Nobody is talking about the war. Who is talking about the war? When the guy who used to even stay, the custom officer, the immigration officer who used to stand by the border, He's sick already. And the more preachers are saying the wrong thing, trying to blame it on 5G and all that, the more God gets angry. That's what he told me. He said, this thing gets me angry the more. Because they are not even looking onto me. They are trying to blame others. And if we are blaming it on 5G and Antichrist, then that means God has left us. Or it will simply mean rapture already took place and these men of God missed it. Because if we're saying that the Antichrist is already at work now, that means we've already missed it, because the Antichrist was never supposed to start work until after the rapture, according to the Bible. But if he has started work already, then that means we missed it too. No, we didn't miss anything. Because Antichrist is not doing anything. It is God that is doing what he's doing. And he is calling the church to order, because the church is not doing what she's supposed to do. They are concerned now that they close churches. So they say, don't worry about the church. We are the church. We are not the church. We are Christians. We Christians are the body of Christ. That's what Paul said. Paul never called the Christian church. Paul referred to we Christians as the body of Christ, not church. We are the body of Christ. Church is a building. And Paul said it. We showed you that earlier in 1 Timothy chapter 3 verses 15. Praise God. This is Bro.Osi King, the privileged servant of Papa Joshua Aguilar. This is how much we can take today. And a few days from now, we'll be coming on air and to bring you a part B of my take on 5G. And like I said, this is also a conversation. And if anyone is offended, please don't be offended. We're just trying to reason what you already said. And so we're talking back. Since you said it's a dialogue, so we're having a dialogue. You said something and I'm saying something. So it's a respectful conversation. And in any way you felt disrespected, please don't be offended. All right? And if somebody say, well, I will curse you, well, I'm under a grace. I'm under the grace of my father, Papa Joshua Aguilar. So if you must get to me, get to him first. God bless you. The rest of our life is the best of our lives. Shalom. Bye-bye.